Hi, and welcome to Books in Action. My name is Larry Petricaro, and I have with me here three of the people involved with the SOMA Film Festival, which will be coming up this March. Linda Beck, who's the program director, Matt Smolin, and Tom Hanna, who are the co-founders of the festival. And all three of the people that we have here aren't involved in just the festival, but they have an involvement in movies and for quite some time, movies and animation. So we're going to, you might wonder why films are on Books in Action, but what is a film but a book in action? So it kind of seems to fit nicely. So we're going to talk about the SOMA Film Festival for 2020. 2020. Better vision. But Linda, I just wanted to ask you a question. It's been bothering me. So I went last year with my granddaughter and my family, and we went to the children's program. And she was really captivated by one of the films where there were some little sheep. I think one of the lambs couldn't quite manage to eat the right stuff or something. And then there was another film that about a young girl who wanted to be an astronaut. And we were asked to vote afterwards, and I voted for the astronaut, and I know Lily voted for the lamb. So I've been wondering for this year who won.
Well, I'm so sorry you've been tormented all this time
yes, I have
in ignorance, but the film that won was One Small Step, which is the astronaut film by Bobby Pontius and Andrew Chesworth. So,
okay.
And that one was also an Oscar
really?
laureled film. So, yeah, we were lucky to have that one.
Yeah, well, I won't tell my granddaughter.
She's still very smart.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about this year's film festival. What do you have planned? You know, we want to get through some of the details of the dates. You know, how people can get around to getting tickets and so forth. But kind of in an overview, what do you guys have planned for this year?
Well, we're going to run March 18th through the 22nd at the Woodland, downtown Maplewood. We'll have two kids programs on Saturday and Sunday morning. We'll have an opening night party on Friday evening. No, a welcoming party on Friday evening. We will do some locals programs. We call it the Long Shorts program, which are a couple local filmmakers. And we'll have the locals program on Sunday evening, our last program, and that's just a lot of locals with their shorts. And then in between all that, we'll have independent features from around the world, around the country. What am I missing? Anything else?
Throwback Thursday.
Oh, we have Throwback Thursday this year. So taking sort of off the Facebook motto, Throwback Thursday, people post pictures of themselves when they were young. I've never done it because I can't find any pictures of myself.
He's also looked like this since he's been 5 years old.
I have. I was born with no hair. It never grew in. So that's not true. So we're actually showcasing two films. One is a wonderful film called Two Family House. From 1991, and it's just a great film. It takes place in the 1950s Staten Island about an Italian gentleman who falls in love with an Irish girl. And in the 1950s, I can tell you firsthand because my father was an Irishman who fell in love with an Italian girl. It was a big deal. But Matt Servito, who lives here in South Orange, is one of the stars of the film, so he's going to join us for the Q&A after. That's Thursday evening at 6. And then our Throwback Thursday at 8 o'clock will be a great film called Stealing Home, starring Jodie Foster and Mark Harmon, and that's directed by
Jonathan Silverman, too.
Jonathan Silverman, many other actors you'd know. That was written and directed by a gentleman called Stephen Campman, who's also a friend of ours, and he's going to come out and do a Q&A following the film. So those are kind of the two big Throwback Thursday films, and they're both wonderful films.
Yeah.
And Throwback Thursday, do they have to be a certain age before they can fit into that category? Or?
No, I think anything, yeah, I guess that's a good question. I think anything that's over 15, 20 years old is, as the rapid pace of way time moves now, it seems like, you know, a classic. And kids today would think Casablanca was made in the Stone Age, so.
We also look for local connections with whatever projects or whatever films we're bringing in. So those two films we happen to know Stephen, have a working relationship with Stephen Campman, and the other film has local actors, so we try to tie that in as well to the community.
And Stephen lives in New
Jersey. And Stephen's a
Jersey.
Jersey guy as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And they're both true indie films.
Right.
They
Yes.
have a great, just indie vibe, probably an indie budget.
Yeah.
And they kind of embody what we really look for the festival.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might be films you go, you know, I've heard of it, or we're not going to have Star Wars, we're not going to have Jaws, we're going to have these type of films that still, like Linda said, still evokes the independent spirit, and are still shot well and look great, and an audience will either discover or rediscover films like these.
Well, you bring up something I'd like to ask about. I do want to spend more time on what's going to be going on at this festival, but you've all talked about indie films as if I should know what that means. I mean, how do you is there a definition of that, or how would you distinguish that from Star Wars, for example?
Budget is
Yeah,
probably
budget,
the
generally
first
it's
Probably the big
budget.
one.
Generally it's budget.
Yeah, more story driven, less special effects driven. But yeah, budget generally. I don't know the budget for Two Family House or Stealing Home, but I can tell you the budget. There's not a feature in the festival or a short in the festival ever. I don't think we've had one over $1 million budget. That would be a lot for some of the films we have. So independent is generally people who make films on their own without the backing of a production company or a distribution house. And then they make the films and then hope to gain those things afterwards.
That's probably the true definition.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a studio support behind it. Someone goes
Okay.
out, raises the money independently. It can have a big budget or a larger budget, so it varies. The definition is it's not backed by a studio. In our world, it's lower budgeted films.
Yeah.
But I think the limitations help define the genre too, just in that if you have a lower budget, you're going to have fewer people on the camera at one time. You're going to have fewer people as characters in the story and the narrative. You're going to make those creative and really innovative
Sure.
decisions that are kind of more budget friendly.
Less locations, less lights,
Yeah.
less everything. Yeah.
You look at a script and you say, do we have to be on top of the Empire State Building here, or can we just be in a gym?
Right.
That's actually kind of interesting. It's I like that thought. I guess in a sense the location is as important as the message. Maybe. Is
Sure.
that-
Yeah, I mean, if the message is strong enough.
Yes, yeah,
I mean,
okay.
you couldn't have King Kong in the gym. But, you could definitely, have the same conversation with the same exposition and the same storyline being told or fed. And the location is not irrelevant, but it's not as important as the story. And independent films generally are derived of meatier storylines.
Okay.
Ray
But some-
Harryhausen could have King Kong in the gym, though.
Yeah, but sometimes locations a character as well, though.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that was Thursday. So what's going on the rest of the week? Yeah.
Well, Linda's got her kids program.
I do. Would you like me to talk about
Yeah,
that?
I'd love to hear
That's
that.
Larry's
I'd love to hear
decision, not mine.
All right, Larry.
Love to hear about it.
Approved, greenlit.
Absolutely.
So we have our kids block again. We're going to keep it at about 45 minutes, probably between 45 minutes and an hour, because that is exactly the amount of time I feel is perfect to train our future cinephiles and get them used to sitting in audience, get them used to behaving appropriately in the theater, and allowing them the perfect amount of time to kind of look at films and the language of film for the first time in some cases. I have two films. I mean, we've got a number of films, obviously, but I have two that I'm very excited about because they are audience favorites. Pez has a new film. Pez is the one who, you'll remember, does all the films with little objects and moving them together. It's a stop motion film, and he uses them in extremely clever ways. He's a very well-known animator, and we're lucky to have that film. It's called The Fish, and I'm really excited. I just got Dana Sink, who is an animator, just gave us permission to include his film. He's the one who did a film called Power last year, which was a whole bunch of mechanisms
Oh, remember
on
that.
film,
Yeah.
and it ended up being, when you sped it up, it ended up being a horse. So I'm not going to tell anybody what Wind ends up being, but it's a similar film with a great surprise reveal. And I loved, that was my favorite audience reaction from last year, was watching the kids kind of, and the grown-ups kind of look confused, going, what is this? And then all of a sudden there was just this gasp as everybody kind of realized what it was.
Yeah.
So it's really great. That's what I love to see as an audience. I love to see, or as a viewer of an observer of the audience, is I love to see the audience response like that.
And I think, sorry, Thomas, I think what Linda does well is it's all original.
Yeah, that is
There's
absolutely-
there's no Tom and Jerry, there's no Nickelodeon, no Sesame. This is all original content that she curates and works hard getting. And you said it best, it's like a crash course in kids learning to sit and enjoy cinema,
Yeah.
and you know, making it as unique as possible. And you know, you do that every year. So
With the great benefit of Able Baker cookies and coffee.
That's right.
that's
So
right.
we're very, and we have another great sponsor, Jeff
the
Lake.
camera, Able Baker. They're the sponsor. Well, there's a lot of great sponsors.
There
so,
are,
yes.
but specifically for the kids program, Jeff
Yes,
Lake and
Jeff
Able
Lake
Baker
are
are
helping us out.
They
They're going to
help
be
you with
doing
cookies.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and Jeff Lake Camp, which is a camp my daughter goes to, is going to be doing a mock campfire experience after one of the programs, either on Saturday or Sunday. But the important thing there is that, you know, that part of the program is locked in. So we know that's Saturday and Sunday mornings at the Woodland at 10 a.m. But we're still even screening as we go right now. So the schedule's fluid right now. We're not. There's a few things that are locked in, like the Throwback Thursday and the kids program, but we're still processing the program itself. We do have a few films that we know are in that we want to tell people about.
One of the things about the kids program, the fact that the program is original, I think it appeals to the parents and the adults that are in the audience just as much as the kids, because it is original and fresh and stuff not used to seeing on Nickelodeon or Disney, and I think that's a real benefit too, that everyone.
And they
anyone
could be
enjoys
watching
it.
some of the great animators of the future, because a
Sure.
lot of these
Yeah.
are students at Cal Arts and other places. And
Well, what I remember was how inventive it was. I remember the mechanisms that turned into a horse, but you know, everything was, as I remember the kids' programs and the animation, it's the imagination these people have and their creativity, their ability to put that together. I found that pretty impressive.
and it's hard filmmaking.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very
hard.
tenuous and strenuous. My one hope for this year is that we will not have a single grown-up in the audience looking at a cell phone. That is my one
Have
wish.
we had that in the past?
I'm not going to say,
Okay.
but that's my one hope. And also, I'll let you know, Larry, that we are, of course, going to be voting for the Audience Choice Awards again. So
Oh, okay.
we'll be doing this next year, and you'll be tormented and ask me the same question that led this program.
And the filmmaker gets $1 million prize.
Don't even joke about
The
that.
kids love the voting.
They do.
Yeah,
I'm so
I
excited
remember
for
she
that.
thought that was
yeah,
a
it's
big
fun
deal.
that they participate.
But I
It's
think
giving them a voice. It's
Yeah.
nice.
I was going to say, I think Linda may have hit on a topic for an independent film. You know, somebody looking at their cell phone with the cinema in the background.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
That happened. I went to see Jumanji 2. There's a free plug, and I went to the bathroom at one point, and half the adults in the theater were on their phones.
Yeah, I maybe I'm too old to appreciate that, but I just can't. It just seems to me there's so much to see without having to look at your phone. I mean, I drive around if I have to go someplace and I'm coming by, especially if kids are coming out of school. You know, there must be some kind of new insurance requirement. You know, I can't imagine somebody's not going to get run over by a car or something.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to have to take a break.
Sure.
As usually happens, things tend to move a little more quickly than we might anticipate. So when we come back, let's concentrate a little bit, if we could, on what's going to be going on the remaining days. And maybe if you have an opportunity to tell us about some of the films that you've liked, some of the directors you've liked. And I'm just curious if perhaps there's been any, you've noticed any trends over the years, if either in animation or anything else, if the kind of topics are different, the techniques are different. But you know, we'll talk about that if we may when we come back.
Great.
So if you'll stay with us, we'll be back in a minute.
It's an onion.
Well, welcome back. This is Larry Petricaro with Books in Action, and I have with me Linda Beck, Matt Smolin, and Tom Hanna. They are all involved with the SOMA Film Festival, the 2020 SOMA Film Festival, so keep your eye on that. And before the break, we were talking about some of the films and the directors and were there any trends that might have been happening over the years. So I'm going to go right back and ask you guys, what are you guys looking at? What do you like that we're going to be seeing?
Well, the two films that I'll mention again, our schedule is fluid, so we have very few locked in, but the two I'm excited about is a feature called Alexi. It's a Croatian film by a female filmmaker, and it's about a young woman who returns home. She's kind of a ne'er-do-well, and kind of, you know, in a time in her life, mid-20s, late 20s, where she's confused on what to do next and where to go in life. And she doesn't have the best taste in men, so she chooses men's. She chooses
Instead of man's.
men of different ilks to be suitors, let's just say. But the brilliance of this film is she's dying to get out. You know, like every kid in their hometown at this age who doesn't want to be seen around hometown. But what the filmmaker does so well is she puts it against the backdrop of a beautiful Croatian coastal town. And her family owns a vineyard. So here, all of us would watch that and say, why do you want to go anywhere else? It's the most gorgeous place in the world. It's a beautifully shot film. It's a beautifully acted film. And it's just, I think, one of the strongest narrative features we've ever had. It was at South by Southwest in 2019, which is a big festival somewhere. And I just love it. The other film, Wonder, is a short film, and it's about a young boy who is struggling with his sexual identity, and he wants to go to as Wonder Woman for Halloween, and his father's obviously got some issues with that. It takes place in the city, Manhattan, or I think it's Brooklyn actually. And Gabriel Furman, who was in our festival the first or second year with his movie Mother's Day.
I think it was first, but
Yeah, great guy, great actor. He produced it and wrote it, and it's just, it's one of the strongest shorts I've ever seen, and the ending is just as endearing as you can find as a human being, and quite surprising. So those are the two films that I would.
The performances are amazing.
The performances are
film.
amazing.
Yeah.
Gabriel's a really excellent actor, and that filmmaker is actually it's loosely based on his life. With Gabriel and him worked on the script together, but it's been all over places. It's won a bunch of awards, so we're lucky to have it. And Gabriel's only giving it to us because he's a friend of ours and he loves our festival, so we should take advantage of those things.
That's it. Good.
Good, Thomas.
So exciting about there's a short film. It's a narrative short called Two Dumb Mix. And it's not about Matt and I, although the sequel may be. I'm pretty sure the sequel will be. It's a great film, and talking about trends, it's sort of an anti-trend, something I've noticed, and Matt may agree or disagree, and Linda, but it's the lack of comedy that we get as submissions. And it's sort of, I understand it may be the hardest form of filmmaking is to make a good comedy,
Yep.
but we don't get a lot of comedic submissions. So this is fantastic because it's old school physical comedy, written, directed, and starring D.B. Sweeney and Sean Austin.
Linda has a crush on D.B. Sweeney.
She said
We can edit that out. I do too.
I don't.
I have a
crush on Sean Astin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's okay.
It's a double header for you. There you go.
They're both delightful.
They are.
And it's a great little film, sweet and funny and charming, and sort of an old fashioned physical comedy, which is nice to see. So I'm excited about that. And then there's a documentary feature called The Whistle, and it's a fascinating look at the high school. I want to get this correct. High school lesbian community in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the 1980s.
70s and 80s, yeah.
70s and 80s, primarily the 80s, yeah. And how they created this secret whistle code to identify one another. But it was a thriving community. It was a healthy, thriving community in the 1980s in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it's refreshing to see a positive, portrayal of that kind of community back then in the 1980s, especially.
Yeah.
It reminds me
really
of
nice.
Prom, the musical that was just on Broadway.
Yeah.
No, I watched that too. It's a sweet story.
Yeah,
of
it's sweet.
How they secretly identified each other.
It's great. It's great.
How about you, Linda? What are you looking forward to?
I have things to say. I'm really looking forward to our opening film this year. Opening night film, sorry. It's called After So Many Days. It's made by two filmmakers together who also are a singer-songwriter band. They go by Jim and Sam, right? Mm-hmm. Jim and Sam. And I really enjoy the film. It's a little reminiscent of the movie Once, but it's lighter. I actually prefer the music, and it's just a little bit more loving. It's a nice journey. It's a nice, pleasant journey. And going along with what we were saying about trends, it also kind of reminds me of last year's Sea Change that we played. It's another great documentary about a married couple who goes across the ocean together in a rowboat.
Rowboat?
Yeah.
Yep. And this one is about a married couple who decides that they're going to give their band one last major push, and they're going to play one concert every day for 365 days across the world. So it kind of encompasses their journey together and their trials and tribulations, and they've just been married 4 months before they embark on this trip. It's a nice film.
And we're going to show a trailer. So we'll have a trailer of the, it was called the...
It's called After So Many Days.
After So Many Days.
All right, hello everybody and welcome. We're Jim and Sam. We're on a tour right now. We're playing one show every day for an entire year. This is a brand new song, and it's kind of about rejection.
It's not kind of about rejection, it is definitely about rejection.
Find me a way to get out of here.
We've been playing music together for almost 10 years.
Find me a way to get out.
And we've tried really hard to build a real following. But nothing we have done has worked.
We should see what happens if the only thing we do is focus on music.
We're gonna play one show every day for a year. We might be out of our minds, but we're really excited about it. We're Jim and Sam from Los Angeles, California.
Where are you two today?
We're playing a liquor store? Welcome to South by Southwest.
Live in Omaha, Nebraska, while we're cutting down the tree.
We're gonna be sweet to each other, and then we're gonna have sex on this.
No, Jim, definitely not happening.
We got married 4 months ago.
She started arguing, just say, yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
It's like the honeymoon tour.
It's the Don't Get Divorced tour.
You're living the dream. You need to carry on chasing it because you're going to find it.
It's sold out. You excited?
I'm very excited. That made me cry.
There's so many beautiful people in the world. Thank you for doing this crazy thing with me. So here we go. Making something happen every single day.
Yeah, I'm calling it.
Jim, they're all coming over here.
All right, what's up, everybody? We're Jim and Sam. We're just passing through.
Okay, that was the trailer for After So Many Days. And also, one of the things at the SOMA Film Festival, you have a participation of local people, or you have a local focus. So maybe you could give us a little information on that.
Yeah, so we cater to local filmmakers on purpose because we want to showcase their films, and we also want them to come enjoy their films because, you know, when a filmmaker makes a film today, no matter what, if it's long or short or documentary or narrative, oftentimes the rarity of seeing it on the big screen is lost. So the opportunity to see your film on the big screen is a very big deal because 99 times out of 100, most even your distribution deals, and a distribution deal is just something a filmmaker gets to show their film somewhere, is either on Amazon or Netflix, so you don't even get to go see, you know, on the big screen. There's not a filmmaker alive who hasn't shot a film that doesn't think it's going to show somewhere on a big screen, because if you grew up going to the movies, it's a big deal. But we do cater to local programs. We have a local shorts program, local long shorts program this year with 1,000 Years, 1,000 Years of Witness. Ali Joseph's a producer of it and a local resident. Frank Goldberg did an amazing film called
Who Killed Michael Stewart?
Who Killed Michael Stewart, about the killing of Michael Stewart, an artist in the 80s in New York. By
Police brutality case.
Police brutality case, really well done. We have a locals program with all shorts. Seton Hall has a program. We have a Columbia High School program. What else?
Well, I was going to comment on something you said about having the opportunity to screen a film that you've put so much work into. As a local, you also have the opportunity to surround yourself with the people who say they're going to see it when it screens in New York City but never make it to the theater.
Yeah.
So you can really, I mean, one of my favorite aspects of this film festival is that locals program because everybody is so jolly. They come in, they all want to be there, and they all want to support local filmmakers. And it's packed every single year, so get your tickets. And
That's the local short. We end the festival at 6 o'clock on Sunday with the local shorts program. Is what you're talking about.
Yep.
It's a party. It's just a blast.
It is. If you're not going to stick with us on Sunday for the other programs, go have brunch at one of the local businesses and then come and finish your evening there. It is-
Especially if it's one of our sponsors.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where you should go have lunch. I'll tell you where not to go. Just kidding.
Yeah. So the thing with the high school students especially, they used to have animation classes here. I don't know if they still do.
They still do. Yeah.
So, that's probably an area where maybe you see some creativity or...
Absolutely. We have seen some fantastic Linda screens for the portion of it, and I would say a few of them have gone on to, they're in film school now, and this year we're actually awarding a scholarship for first, second, and third place. It's not a lot of money, but it's a little bit. Will help with books and food, and every year they do some really good work. The film department here does some really nice work.
Okay.
They should be proud.
Oh, yeah. No, we are. In fact, it's got to be 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. My son actually won an award. He had taken an animation class here, and he won some kind of award. So we don't have a lot of time left, but let me just, if I can fall back real quickly to something one of you guys said which piqued my interest. One of you said that you thought, as an anti-trend, you didn't see much comedy. And then one of you mentioned that comedy was sort of the hardest type of film. So in about a minute, can you explain the history of this whole thing?
Well, I think it was who said comedy? Comedy is hard, dying is easy. Who's the I forget the name.
We'll put a footnote on the screen.
But anyway, so comedy is just highly interpretive. It doesn't, one man's, excuse my language, fart joke is another man's, Shakespeare. It's not person Shakespeare. There's not anybody. Everyone has different tastes. But drama, someone dying's bad. War is bad. These things happen and they're bad.
Okay, I see.
Comedy. I look at Pulp Fiction as a comedy.
Yes.
There's comedic
yes.
elements. Some people love the broad comedies, The Weekend at Bernie's. Some people love the Groundhog Days. So for an independent filmmaker to venture into that world, it's very tricky. Because A, it's hard to write, it's even harder to perform, and it's hard to shoot because timing is so important. Any actor, Linda's husband's an actor, any actor will tell you comedy is harder to perform. The timing, you have to almost have an inherent...
Speaking of
timing, just give us a brief overview again of the time and the place and where people can get tickets for the film festival.
Well, it's March 18th through the 22nd. Get tickets at somafilmfestival.com.
Time's up. Well, thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it.
You got to cut the comedy.